Hey everyone, glad you're here. I've got a new story to share, and trust me, it's one you'll want to hear. My name's William, and just a week after my divorce was finalized, my ex-wife got remarried. No joke, she jumped right into a new marriage like she'd struck gold. The way she gushed about her new, perfect husband, you'd think she'd won the lottery. But when I finally laid eyes on the guy she left me for, I couldn't hold back. I laughed, out loud. Now, before you start thinking I'm just being bitter or throwing shade, let me take you back to where it all started. Because for you to really get why this hits so different, you need the whole picture. I first met Evelyn while visiting my aunt one weekend. My aunt always loved having me over, so I made the trip. That day, Evelyn happened to be there too. She wasn't super close with my aunt, but they knew each other through their church group, close enough that she'd stop by to help or check in. Truth is, the first time I saw Evelyn, she didn't leave much of an impression. Not because she wasn't pretty, she was. But some people just pass by like shadows. We exchanged a few polite words and that was it. Ask me a week later to describe her, and I probably couldn't have told you a thing. Fast forward a few months, I visited again, and Evelyn was there too. Only this time, she was more lively, cooking, cleaning, helping my aunt around the house. We ended up talking more, and the conversation just flowed. Before I knew it, hours had slipped by. As she was getting ready to leave, my nosy but sweet aunt leaned in and whispered, "You better not let that one get away." I laughed it off, thought she was just teasing. But before Evelyn walked out, she pulled out her phone and said with a smile, "Let's stay in touch." We swapped numbers. After she left, my aunt teased me even harder, joking that I was already hooked. I didn't take it seriously at the time, but looking back, that was the moment it all started. I just didn't know it yet. From there, things moved fast. We started texting during the day, talking on the phone at night for hours. She always seemed genuinely interested, even when I was rambling about nothing. Early on, I made sure she was single. My aunt had already confirmed it without me even asking. That gave me peace of mind. After a few weeks, I finally asked Evelyn out. She said yes, just like that. We set our first date for the following weekend. And from there, it just clicked. The dating phase was easy. We spent years together before even talking about marriage. I believed in taking it slow, in really knowing someone first. Eventually, we decided it was time. We got married thinking we'd done everything right. But life doesn't always reward careful planning. After the wedding, I landed a job that paid more than anything I'd ever earned, but it came with a price. I had to travel a lot. Gone for days, sometimes weeks. I hated being away, but I told myself it was a short-term grind for long-term comfort. Make the money now, come home to stability later. I thought it made sense. I thought she'd understand. At first, Evelyn seemed on board. But the more I traveled, the colder she became. Our goodbye kisses turned into stiff nods. She stopped asking when I'd be back and started saying things like, "Of course you have another trip." I tried to explain, I wasn't choosing work over her. I was choosing us. But she didn't hear it that way. To her, I was gone because I wanted to be gone. She started accusing me of cheating, just out of nowhere, straight-faced, asking if I was seeing someone else. At first, I kept calm, told her she was wrong, that I loved her, that I'd never do that. But the accusations didn't stop. They just got louder, crueler. Home stopped feeling like home. It felt like a courtroom, and I was always on trial. I started staying out longer just to avoid the constant tension. But no matter how much distance I gave her, nothing changed. The warmth we had, it was gone. And the saddest part? I wasn't happy out there either. I even started looking for local jobs. But every offer was a pay cut I couldn't afford. It felt like I was being forced to choose, be broke or be alone. Then one night, I came home from a trip, and she smiled at me. Just a small smile. For a moment, I thought we'd turned a corner, that maybe things were softening. But not long after, I started noticing she wasn't home much anymore. Errands, friends' houses, always somewhere else. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Didn't want to be that paranoid guy. So I stayed quiet. Ignored the gut feeling, even as it grew louder. Then one afternoon, she said, like always, she was going to her friend's place. I nodded, watched her leave. A few hours later, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there stood the very friend Evelyn claimed to be with. She asked if Evelyn was home. I froze. Invited her in, trying to keep calm. Then I picked up my phone. Called Evelyn. She answered. I asked her where she was. Without missing a beat, she said, "At my friend's place." I looked over at the friend, sitting on my couch. Anger and heartbreak surged through me. I asked Evelyn, "Is your friend there with you?" She didn't even pause. "Yes," she said. She said it without blinking. "She's right here." That was it. A lie so smooth, it almost sounded like the truth. I didn't argue. I just said, "All right. See you later," and hung up. I sat there, staring at her friend, completely clueless to the drama unfolding, and decided I wasn't going to chase answers. I'd wait. She was going to walk through that door eventually, and this time, I wanted the truth. When Evelyn came home that evening, I didn't waste a second. I asked her, plain and direct, "Where were you today?" She stuck to her story, claimed she'd spent the whole afternoon with her friend. No yelling. No theatrics. I just looked her in the eye and told her friend had been at our house, looking for her. That's when her face changed. She tried to double down, said I must have been confused. So I told her, "Call your friend, right now. Let's clear it up together." She refused. Mumbled something about not wanting to drag her friend into our drama. And right there, in that pause where her lie fell apart, she switched tactics. No apology. No admission. Just a full-blown attack. She said I had abandoned her emotionally. That I chose work over love. That if I'd been a better husband, maybe she wouldn't have needed anyone else. Then, like she'd been saving it up, she threw it at me. Accused me of cheating too. Said it made perfect sense. All those trips, how could I not be? Eventually, she stopped pretending. Admitted there was someone else. Someone who made her feel seen and appreciated. Someone better than me, she said. And she meant it. She didn't just confess, she glorified him. Called him supportive, attentive, different. She wanted me to feel it. To hurt. But I didn't fight her. I didn't beg her to stay. I called a lawyer the next morning and filed for divorce. It was one of the hardest and easiest decisions of my life. Because when someone shows you they don't value you anymore, you don't stand there asking for more. You walk. Divorce, though, it's not fast. It's not like the movies. It's slow, messy, paperwork, court dates, lawyer meetings. Every tiny detail, who gets what, who pays what, becomes a war. And you have to keep your head on straight through it all. Because the system doesn't care who got hurt. It only cares what looks fair on paper. While I was slogging through the mess, Evelyn didn't skip a beat. She packed her things and moved straight in with her perfect man. Every time we had to talk, usually about splitting up our stuff, she'd toss little jabs my way. You were never enough for me. Thank God I found someone who knows how to treat a woman. At first, her words cut deep. But after a while, I stopped letting them echo in my head. I couldn't control her anymore, but I could control me. After nearly a year, it was over. The divorce finalized. She walked away with a few things. I walked away with what mattered, my dignity, my peace, my freedom. Exactly 1 week later, I got the news. Evelyn had already remarried. Someone mentioned it casually, like it was no big deal. And I just blinked. No pause. No mourning period. She just moved on. But I didn't get angry. I didn't feel bitter. I wished them luck. And then, life being what it is, I ran into them. Just out running errands. Evelyn saw me first, and the smile on her face fell like a curtain. Then I saw him. This man she had raved about, bragged about, said he was everything I wasn't. And I laughed. He looked like he still lived in his mother's basement. Scruffy, nervous, small. She grabbed his arm and pulled him away like a kid hiding a broken toy. I wished them a good day, and I walked on. Not out of spite. Not because I hated her. But because in that moment, I saw it all clearly. I had dodged a bullet. A big one. And there wasn't a single part of me that wanted to go back. As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Pure, quiet peace. The kind that comes when you finally shut a door that should have been closed a long time ago. After the divorce, I made myself a promise. I wasn't going to jump into anything. I needed time. Time to heal. To figure out who I was again. Funny thing is, one of Evelyn's friends started being real friendly with me. Checking in. Texting. Making small talk when we crossed paths. But I didn't bite. I just survived a storm. I wasn't about to sail into another one. I've learned a few hard truths through all this. The first, no amount of patience can fix someone who's determined to misunderstand you. You can explain yourself over and over, speak with love, act with kindness, but if they want to see you as the villain, they will. Second, you can't lose someone who was never really with you. I used to think losing Evelyn meant I failed, that I'd let something precious slip away. But the truth is, She was gone long before the papers were signed. She just hadn't packed yet. I'm not telling this story for pity. I'm telling it because maybe someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe you're stuck trying to fix something broken, blaming yourself for someone else's choice to leave. If that's you, listen to me. Peace is better than pretending. Freedom is better than forcing something that hurts you. That's my story. What about you? Ever been through something like this? What did you learn? Let's talk.